All right, so it is 6 p.m. now over here in Singapore, and I hope everybody have a good evening so far. Now we're gonna start right now. So my name is Jun Lang. Once again, I'm the trainer here in Amazon Seller Education team in Singapore office. So today we will be sharing about the topic on data-driven product selection methodology. All right, so I hope as of right now, all of you can still see the slides well and you can hear me. If not, do let me know, all right? And also any point of the time, if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A box to put down your question and I will address it before we end the call, all right? All right, moving on. So before we begin, I just want to let you know the recording will be shared after the session or tomorrow. So all our Amazon Live webinar are recorded. So don't worry if you miss out any concepts of any things. You don't have to do screenshots or take photos. You can just head on to our official webinar playlist on the official Amazon YouTube page. The links is also at the site. So don't worry, you can find the link. And then any questions, just let us know in the Q&A box. So if you were to watch this recording a couple of months down the road, do make sure that you always refer back to Seller University or the Seller Central Help for the most updated information, especially for things regarding policy, new changes, etc. All right. All right, some important notice for everyone. Okay, so this is the agenda today we'll be covering. Now, first one is the common misconception we have about product selection. So what do you all think of when you think about product selection, right? So typically you want to know like what are the goals of product selection? Is it really to find product that will definitely be profitable? Now, of course, that is the best, right? Our product selection is not really to reap like profit 100% of the time, but really to maximize the proportion of product that are successful. All right, so we all know 100% success is definitely not possible. So here are the things of this so-called misconception. All right. So don't just look at whether a product will be easy to list, but you also need to take into consideration of the market demand. Things like your vendor or your supplier strengths are important as well. So don't rely on your gut, use data to do analysis. So this is what we'll be covering a little bit on today. All right. Last but not least is the cost, right? Make sure that you calculate your cost and the profit margin. Okay, this is something not to be neglected. And don't just copy, what you think is popular, or you might just be investing in a very crowded space. So again, it's impossible to be profitable 100% of the time, right? Now, if it's possible, I probably wouldn't be here. All right, so the goal of the product selection is you've got to find products that are more likely to be profitable within a reasonable or known margin of error rather than products that are definitely profitable. So what do you think is a successful product? All right, now I'm going to share there are some definition here. Now, first definition is we all probably think something that is undisputed. All right, a product that reaps short-term or long-term net profit is something we define as a successful product, right? But over here, I want to introduce another commonly used broadened definition. So a successful product would be a product that you restock at least once. Now again, you may think there are so many ways to select product, right? Which are the way, or rather, which has the higher success rate? So we need to look at what are the different success rate based on the different product selection methods. All right, so you can see this is a simple graph to show. Based on different method, which will go through the basic method, the practicality method, and the so-called refined method. Now, as we go along, you can see that the success rate based on our broadened definition will be higher, but it also means that the amount of details you need to use to select a product will need to be a little bit more as well. So you can decide, how you want to select the product according to your own situation, whether you have the time or whether you have the data, etc. So this is just an overview, as you can see on the first funnel that you can see. All right, so the cost of trial and error will definitely go up. All right, if you were to do a lot more of these mentioned over here, analyze individual ASINs or even select, single word BSR. BSR means bestseller ranking. All right, to do your product selections. Let me get a pen. Right, you also need to think about the dimensions that you are going to use. Are you doing any additional calculation of the data that you have, etc. Right. So of course, the different shared objective that you might have will also have an impact on the cost of your analysis. So choose a appropriate product selection method based on your analysis ability, and your risk tolerance. Don't just do nothing. So we take a look at some of the rather example. Now, regardless of what you choose, right, you can start with a category where you have an advantage, meaning that let's say you are very familiar with a certain product category. You can do something like this to break down the category and try to find the different segmented category that you could explore on. Now, again, the word category where you have advantage, right, is pretty subjective. And I'll let you decide, what is your advantage. It could be that you know the product really well, or you could be, of a really good manufacturer that can do very good customizations for you at a very cost-effective fee, right? So once you know the product well, you can break it down. Like in this example, the lightings, you can go down further into what are the different categories and segmented or rather subcategory that you can focus on. Right, so that's the kind of the overview. Now we want to go through what is the basic product selection method. It's also something that we do at the start, the preliminary selection. Right, so this is the most basic product selection method that we probably, most of us would do, is to analyze an individual ASIN. So take this example, right? This content was, written on a couple of years, like 2020. All right, so you can do some calculations to use or you can use the Excel to find out how long the date between when the first object was there based on the reviews. All right, to find out when is the earliest object, or rather when was the earliest this listing is available. All right, and then with that you can do formula to find what is the average daily reviews, what is the rank, etc. I'll go in a little bit more details on the steps. So you may think, right, what if some of the ASIN don't have their first listing date? So this is important for you to find out, how long the product has been around in Amazon.com, right? So if the date is really not available, you can use the date of the first comment to make a guess or estimate. So when you pull your own data, it should look something like this. Now, again, there are some ways you can collect some of those data. There are some plugins out there, or some of you may have even hired your own assistant to do it. All right, this is more at the first, to analyze when was the product first listed, right? And then when, which year, etc. To give you an overview if you were to analyze based on the ASIN. So just a quick guide on where you can find the first date for a review. All right, so ASIN just means the Amazon serial number. All right, so you can go to the customer review section, the page there, and then go down to the URL. All right, and then you can do a sort. All right, to get a date. So if the comments have a lot, you will be able to do some changing of the URLs, and you can get the actual, or rather get the earliest first comments, right? So there's a so-called guide here. You can count how many page of reviews there are. So you can use the formula, the number of comments divided by 10, right, to get to the nearest whole number, right? And then you change the last value at the end. So for example, if you find a product that has 3,350 reviews, and you divide it by 10, it will be 335, right? So by changing the URL at the end, page number equals to 335, here you'll be able to go to the very first review, right? From there, you can actually get the date of the first review. All right, so the next I want to share is the profit margin estimation. So how you're going to calculate your profit margin, you need to first think of what are the costs involved. All right, so the cost involved, it will be your production or your procurement cost, your first mile logistic cost, the category commission, which will be different depending on which category of the product you are selling, the FBA storage fee, right, and the handling fee, as well as any estimated or potential damage or returns that you foresee. So to get a gross profit, it will be your sales minus your cost divided by sales. All right. So do take note that if you want to factor in your first mile logistic fee, right, you will include those custom duty, etc. Right. So this is something that you need to be aware of, because doing cross-border shipping is not like domestic shipping. There'll be other fees involved, like bonds or even insurance for your product, etc. So you need to take this into consideration when doing your calculation on your first mile logistic fee, right? And also for the category, so the category commission, which is actually the referral fee, right? It depends on which category, but at a very minimum, there will be at least $1 of USD dollar for the category fee. Right, so a very good way to do a rough estimation, you can use the FBA calculator. The link is here. I will share the link at the end of the session or in the video description as well. All right. So these are some other tips in terms of the potential damage costs that you want to factor in, and any extra costs to cover any potential returns. All right. And last but not least, do also factor in your marketing expense, because you will need to do either your off Amazon or on Amazon marketing to promote your product, etc. So those are all the costs that you need to factor in as well when you're doing your product selection analysis. All right. So I hope everyone is still with me. I'm going to go through part 3, what we call the practical product selection method. This is the preferred method in a way. All right, so this method is what we analyze a single keyword or a bestseller rank subcategory. So you can see there's a lot of the so-called the metric we are using over here. So things like overall demand, the average demand, the percentage of retail, the brand share, new product survival, new product trend, and price tier. All right, so a lot of this data, you can actually find it under the brand building tools. So I've covered a session on brand building tools in August as well. So you can take a look at that video. So all these ranking data can actually be found under the branding tools in Seller Central. right? So once you collect all this data, you can analyze it across these 13 data dimensions that we recommended. Of course, this is up to your preference. If you feel like certain data do not make sense for your product category, you may not need to use them, but this is what we see recommended if we are going to use data to do your analysis. Right, these are all the different 30 data dimensions. All right. And then we will add on additional data columns on the existing data. Right, this is to find out whether or not if last year, whether ASIN is listed in the last year or determined by the published date. Right, and some other calculated fields like reviews times the price to get the estimated sales. Right, and then the price tiers, so you can allocate the current selling price into different banding to help you analyze it easier. Right, you can use bands from 0 to 5 or even 5 to 10 if the price is too scattered. So it's more like a binning your sales price into the different buckets. And with all those data, right, you'll combine those 6 dimensions to help you select a product. Right, so these are the 6 dimensions over here. Yep. All right. Okay, moving on to the next step. So the next step is something more like an additional step that you can use to refine the method that you have already used. All right, is to be a little bit more in depth, do a comprehensive product selection, what we call a protocol, based on the marketplace, the product attributes, and your product selection strategy. Right. So to further refine, you need to think about the consumer demand. Those are the key things to take note of. Whether there's a new product penetration, can a new product or brand survive, whether it can grow or not. Right, in terms of product attributes, look at those attributes. Is it essential or what are the popular attribute for the product in the different category? How to find a balance when you're focusing on certain products? How do you decide what you want to focus on or not to focus on? Right, and based on further in-depth reviews where you can analyze as well on which are the attributes that the customers really want and really needed. Right, lastly, in terms of your product selection strategy, you can further refine which price range does the product sells best. Basically, this is more on the pricing elasticity. All right, and then finally also do a bit of the risk assessment, right? Whether or not certain product, is there any intellectual property involvement? That is something you need to be aware of when you are doing your product selection as well. Whether or not your product certification is required on certain category. All right, these are more on the step-by-step analysis. You do your demand trend analysis and then find the ASIN average sales trend, right, based on the popular price range, right? And then move on to the new product volume percentage trend. Right, this is more to guide your mind on how you can decide on the marketplace analysis. Yep. So again, a lot of this will also depends on your experience, on your past to see whether or not you think certain trend is actually making sense for the product category. Right, it's not set in stone, but more to give you an idea on what you can take note of when you do your analysis. Right, again, these are the more so-called the metric that we see will be useful for you to use in your data analysis. Right. So for example, things like the reviews, you can find a way to estimate the annual sales volumes of an ASIN and the number of searches for keyword each year. Yep. So this is an example of your marketplace environment analysis example, right? In terms of how do you identify a key attribute of a product. So using the data you have collected, right, you can analyze the popular attributes, right? So you can see the different dimension. If you cut it down, what are the different attributes for the particular product? Right. And then from then on, you can create a keyword dimension table, right, to find out the different keyword that is being mentioned. Right. So you can always use the title to summarize the product attribute and compare the demand or growth between the attributes. Because as one of our session regarding a good product title naming, so it will usually contain certain attributes on the product title. So that is something you can use it to do your analysis and break it down. So finally, when you have all this data, right, you can select the appropriate product by using your experience and estimate the future sales share, the gross profit margin, etc. over here. So this is an example for you. You can take reference as well on how you can do your analysis. All right, I'm going to do a quick wrap up on the practical implementation that we have went through earlier on. Now, first of all, is don't start with a product you can or rather start with a product you can supply yourself, have an interest in, or in a popular category, but don't cast your net too wide, right? So based on the primary data indicator, first you do a screen and then sort to conduct a second round of analysis by your target category. All right, so for sellers who face higher risk in product selection, meaning that you focus with product that has an initial investment that require a more detailed kind of investment or management, you might want to conduct a third round of intensive analysis. Right. So I won't go through in depth on this. You can review the recording. But a key point to note that there's different way. You don't have to do all the different ways that I mentioned here. You can start with the basic method. And also there are tools available for a start for you to get yourself familiarized with the different metrics and different data that is being collected in Amazon.com. You can use the Product Opportunity Explorer tool for a start to do your very first level of diving into the data. All right, and also on the brand building tools, the brand analytics tools that I shared in the previous session, you can use that as a start as well. That has the initial data like the brand share, that the number of sales, etc., for you to do an initial data analysis. Right. So whatever I shared today is more on to share what are the further deep dive that you can do, where you might have your own analyst or you are somebody who likes to dive more into data. And again, to also recap the broadened definition of a successful product is to have a product that you get to at least restock once. Right. So by using all the different dimension that I've shared earlier on, the likelihood, the probability of having a product that can have the chance of restock once will be likely better in that sense, given that if your analysis is done correctly. All right, last but not least, just to share some of the resources where you can find in Seller University. There are more contents over there. And then now is the peak season. We have the Prime Big Deal Days coming. So if you are also looking to look at more other seller success strategies, you can look at the QR code that we have developed here on a one-pager guide. I will share this link as well in the video description. Yep. All right, so I will open the floor for any questions that you might have. So let me know in the Q&A box. I'm gonna take a look at the question and answer box right now. So if you have any question, do let me know. And meanwhile, these are the upcoming sessions that we have. So tomorrow we're gonna have another topic regarding listing optimizations and Amazon ads. All right, so if you want to know more about product research strategies, there's another one on 22nd of September on product research strategy, which is slightly different from the one today. So it's less data intensive on that session. So you might want to join that session as well. All right, let me see if there's any questions from anyone on the floor. Right, I don't see any question yet. You can ask me, since we have time, you can ask me other question that is, probably not related to product selection as well. I can also help to address it if I know the answer. All right. So before that, I'm going to run a quick poll. If you can help me, that would be really helpful for me. All right, I'm going to run a poll now for about 5 to 10 seconds. You can give me your feedback. Thank you.